know, my stuff's always been really lots of layers, really thick textured and just really filled with things on it, and just lots of, you know, pigments and ash and, you know, just adding layers and throwing stuff on, scraping it all off and throwing it on. You know, by all means necessary, you know, you can make your artwork. You know, you take whatever and use whatever you need to express yourself. Something that I've kind of had as my a foundation in my process, you know, just sort of like using whatever I need to try to get what I need with that painting. Then in like '98, I went and saw a Rothko retrospective. It was at the Whitney, actually, in the fall of '98, and then that just sort of blew my mind. It was kind of like, that became like another stone in the foundation of my work and of what I was working towards. You know, reading a lot and seeing a lot too. I mean, I think seeing, you know, trying to see work and see what's out there. I mean, it's one of the great things about working at AS220 and being gallery director is that, you know, there's the range of work I see. I mean, there's so many great people making work in Rhode Island. It's pretty inspiring, and it just makes you want to work more in your studio, and it just makes me want to work more and just sort of be like, oh, well, you know, they're doing this, and you know, and that's really cool, and let me try this, then I can push a little bit further. I think I'm moving more away from history and patterns and layers for the sake of that sort of thing, which is sort of trying to make something more, a little bit, I'm not sure, something a little bit different though. I've worked on a few hand-painted films, and that's something that I'm looking, I've been doing a little bit more of that, and that's something I'd like to try to slowly work on, you know, but you know, painting is the main thing. For me, painting is sort of a meditative process. I was born in Cranston, Rhode Island.
We have these, if you can use any of them, I'd be
sage,
glad to.
fresh sage, chives, scallions.
This is the first time?
First time for us being here.
Oh, okay.
So didn't know exactly what it would bring.
Yeah.
But so far so good.
Thanks, have a good day.
You're welcome, you too.
Born and raised in Rhode Island. Went to the University of Rhode Island. The whole crew of us that all met down there, and Sean, Jill, and Matt Lowe, and Brian Jepson actually in the beginning were all part of a performance group. And at the time, Brian Jepson, I think, was actually volunteering at AS220 at the time, and he sort of imported AS220 down to Frodis, which went through a number of different changes, but then was basically Sean Wallace, Matt Lowe, and then John Everett and myself. We're protesting Donut, and we also smashed the piano. into AS220 and started getting involved. I helped out at a couple of the volunteer things at the building out on Empire Street there, and just sort of jumped into it. Yeah, it was pretty life-changing, and it was from there that I actually started with Frodis making like collages and flyers for shows, and from there became interested in painting and being in a community full of people that had studios doing all sorts of work. Kathy Hamilton, who was a painter that had a studio there, it was really encouraging. But I mean, Bert Kranker was probably the most took me into his studio, showed me what he was doing, and then would look at my stuff that I was working on and, you know, give me directions and encouragement and point me in the direction to go, you know, just sort of all the possibilities. I worked for a year and a half or so for a Polish abstract painter named Włodek Szonczek. A friend of mine, Scott Lapham, had been photographing his work, and I had known Scott ever since I moved into AS220, or maybe a little bit before then, and he showed me a bunch of slides of Włodek's work, and then, you know, there was definitely a connection on just seeing his work. And then he needed a studio assistant, so I basically worked for him for a year, picking up food, groceries, to stretching and gessoing canvases, to actually painting under layers, and helping him move paintings to New York and Boston and installing shows. So it was pretty intense. Learned a lot. He was pretty intense, and I also wasn't sure if I actually wanted to be, I mean, he made his living through his paintings. I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to make a living that way though. I'm trying to maybe step a little bit away and just sort of, I mean, there's always sort of a color there, but the older work is always a little bit more dense and heavier. So I think I'm looking to make something that's a little bit more that sort of just more about light and color. A little less materiality, maybe. But we'll see how that goes.